Hi everyone, welcome back to the Relax and Craft YouTube channel. My name's Fleur and today we're going to be looking at this beautiful chainmail weave which has a couple of names. Some people call it barrel weave, some people call it double vision. So whichever one you've heard of it as or you know it as, that's what we're going to be doing today. So this is a really versatile weave. As you can see, it can be made as a continuous weave, so it could be used in a bracelet or a necklace, or it can be used as segments or unit weave. So with a unit weave, it means that it's just that little unit can be used all by itself to create the most beautiful, let's get you to focus, the most beautiful little element, chainmail element between your fabulous beads or gemstones, whatever you're using. So I'm going to be showing you how to create the continuous one and how to create the unit one. Jump ring sizes that we need. The bracelet that I've got here is using a 3.5mm inner diameter on a 1mm wire diameter, and these larger ones that are in the segments are a 5.5 inner diameter on a 1.25 wire diameter. Now down in the description I'll leave all the sizes and everything and wire diameters, but in essence you can make this weave in quite a few different sizes, so have a little go with what you've got in your stash. But if you're buying jump rings specifically for these two projects, if you like, these two sizes, then that's the sizes that I've used. But if you've got other sizes at home, it should work. I wouldn't go any lower than 3.5 AR, which is your aspect ratio for this one, just because it's a little bit tight to get the next jump ring in. So 3.5 AR or aspect ratio is about right for this weave. But yeah, have a little go with what you've got. Tool wise, all you're going to need, as always with any chainmail, is 2 pairs of chain nose or flat nose pliers. In this case I have got some bent nose pliers and some chain nose pliers or snipe pliers. You can see that both the pliers have got a smooth inner jaw, which is what you need for your chainmail. So let me get everything ready and all my supplies, and I'll meet you back here when I've got all my jump rings ready to show you this fabulous weave. So as always, I'm going to use my very large jump rings to show you this weave, just so you can see all the gaps and the path where the next jump ring goes. But one of the segments of one unit of double vision, which is this, just one of those little units, let me get you to focus, one little unit there, so ignore the 2 small jump rings either side. So this here is in effect this, so you only need 6 jump rings to make one unit. Now when we're making the bracelet or the continuous weave like this, that 6th and final ring facilitates the next sort of unit along, so it's almost like 5.5 rings if you're making it in a continuous bracelet. So it doesn't take that many jump rings to create something like a beautiful pair of earrings or a few segments within your beaded jewellery. So what we want to do is, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to take one of our open jump rings and we're going to place on 2 closed jump rings. Now these are pre-closed jump rings, so if you go ahead and for every unit you're going to make, you're going to need 2 pre-closed jump rings. So if you go ahead and do that with the size that you're using, then it will make this weave just flow a little bit easier and you'll be able to learn it a lot quicker. So take one open jump ring, place on 2 closed jump rings and close. Now the way that this weave is orientated, or the way that it keeps its pattern in the continuous weave, is always dictated how this pair of jump ring is stacked on top of each other. Okay, so obviously we can stack it so the top ring's further forward and the bottom ring is below, or we can stack it the opposite way round. So the bottom ring is to the top and the top ring the top ring is towards the bottom, as like facing towards us. So there's two ways to stack the rings. Now I always find it's more natural for me to push the top ring away and the bottom ring down. That's just the way that I tend to work. So I'm always going to be pushing the top ring up and the bottom ring down, so creating what we call in the chainmail world this eye shape. So this shape here we class as the eye, and it's where two jump rings are sitting on top of each other at a distance and creating a gap in between that eye shape. So it's exactly the same if we were to do it the opposite way around. It's just this top ring has come down and the bottom ring has gone up. But like I say, I intuitively will just push the top ring forward and the bottom ring down. So I've now got three gaps. So I've got gap number one, which is closest to me, gap number two, which is the eye of where both the jump rings are crossing each other, and gap number three, which is the top gap. So 1, 2 and 3. Oop, there we go, 3. Now this weave is classed as an orbital weave, so the next two jump rings I'm going to add in are going to be my orbiting jump rings, or my floating jump rings. So the ones that they don't attach to anything, they just orbit around this eye shape. And the way that we add them in is we take one of our open jump rings. Now if you're making this weave in two different colours, this is your second colour. So this is your second colour that you're going to use. We're going to come up through gap number one, so that first gap that's closest to you, over the top of gap number two and down through gap number three. Okay, so if I just put it to its side, you can see it's come up through the bottom jump ring and down through the top jump ring. It's not connected to anything, it's not sort of like gone through another jump ring, it's just going into those two gaps and it's going around that eye shape. Okay, and I'm going to close that jump ring up. Now don't forget, these jump rings are rather large, so I do have to hold it in formation. When you're working with the correct size, you won't have to hold it this tight to keep it in formation, because it's going to hold its pattern a lot better. So I've got my single jump ring around that eye shape now, and just so you know, a single jump ring in this weave has got a completely different name. It's called Rhino Snorting Drano. So a single jump ring is a completely different weave. You can go down in the jump ring sizes that you're using as well. So if you've got teeny tiny jump rings, maybe try just putting one of your orbiting rings around and changing it to that weave rather than the double vision weave. But we're going to do the double vision. So we're going to take our second open jump ring and we're going to do exactly the same as what we've just done with this one. So up through gap number one, over the top of gap number two, and down through gap number three. So again, it's in exactly the same position as the previous one, and close that one up. So now we have our orbiting rings in place. We've got the jump ring that's holding, that started it all. We've got the pair of closed jump rings, which we've pushed the top one up and the bottom one down. And we've got our orbiting jump rings, which are our purple jump rings. So now we need to move and connect this into a stable unit. Okay, so that's where my last jump ring is going to come in. So if the orbiting jump rings went through gap 1 and gap 3 and around gap number 2, this connecting jump ring is going to mirror what the first jump ring does. And if I can just show you, let me just move those out of the way, you can see that it's actually in the eye shape. Okay, so it's in gap number 2. So this is going to do exactly the same. It's going to just go through gap number 2, and that is your unit completed. Okay, so if we were to just do a single unit, that would be it. Okay, so we just close that jump ring together and we've got our orbiting jump rings and our formation of our closed jump rings. So that is your unit. But if we want to make it into a continuous weave, I'm just going to reopen that jump ring up. When we put that first jump ring through, that single jump ring, we're going to add on 2 closed jump rings to it and close. So when we let go of that, we've then back to the beginning. So if we ignore this part, if we just look at these 3 rings, it's exactly the same as what we started with. Now this is where we have to keep the pattern and the formation going. So again, we have to push that top one up and the bottom one down, or if you've started the other way around, that way around. But if it does change and alternate the way that it goes, then that is another different chainmail name. But we're going to stick to this one because we don't want to confuse anybody. So we're sticking with the same orientation, so you can see the top jump rings come up and the bottom jump rings gone down. And again, I'm going to take my 2 orbiting jump rings, okay, holding it in its pattern, exactly the same, up through gap number 1, over the top of gap number 2 and down through gap number 3 and close. And again, exactly the same, up through gap 1, down through gap 3, around gap number 2 and close. And that's your weave. That's as difficult as it gets. It doesn't get very difficult. If you drop it, obviously, like I was saying before, these are very large, so if you drop the weave, it is going to stay in its formation until you get that locking ring back in, so don't worry. And all I'm going to do now is just lock these in place with my last jump ring. So again, as before, through gap number 2. And there you have your beautiful double vision weave. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to show you in the size that I've actually made the bracelet in, just so you can see it with using the pliers as well. So this is my bracelet which I am making, so I just got to make sure that I've got it in the correct orientation, so you can see the top jump ring's gone up, the bottom jump ring's gone down. I'm just going to zoom in for you, and if I just hold it like so, you can see there how that's working. Okay, so what we've got to do now is we're going to put in our 2 floating jump rings. Now, like I say, I've just got my chain nose and my bent nose. I love these for the smaller jump rings because it means that I can see what I'm doing with the weave. So I'm just going to push, let me just move that one out of the way, move those pliers so it doesn't try and focus on that. Just get you to focus. There we go. So I'm going to take my open jump ring and I'm going to come up through gap number 1, over the top of gap number 2 and down through gap number 3. So you can see there it's just connected those 2 jump rings up. I'm taking my second pair of pliers, just closing that jump ring up so it's nice and closed, and then letting it just sit, and then taking my second jump ring, I'm going to go exactly the same route, down through gap number 1, over the top of gap number 2 and down through gap number 3 and close. So it's really simple. Like I say, this is the smallest aspect ratio I would probably use in the double vision, just because, as you can see, it is quite a nice tight weave, but there's still maneuverability in all those rings, so nothing's locked up. And now I need to just hold this together with my single jump ring, which is going to then connect to the next one. But I'm going to actually finish this off as a weave, so I'm going to take my other jump ring, and this is going to go through gap number 2. Now, the reason why I wanted to show you in the smallest size is you can see that gap number 2 is getting a little bit difficult to see. Okay, so it is there, but if you're stuck, the easiest way to go through gap number 2 is to go through the bottom closed jump ring. So just come up through that bottom closed jump ring and then up through the top closed jump ring. That now has put that ring into that eye. So I'll do that again just so you can see it. Hopefully it stays in focus. Look, it's gone in now. I don't want to come back out. There we go. So I've got my little unit. So you can just about see the eye there, but the easiest way is to come through the bottom jump ring So I've just connected down through that bottom jump ring, and then all I'm going to do is connect up through the top jump ring. So just slide that top jump ring over the top, and it's now in the correct place. It's in gap number 2, which is that eye. Okay, now if I was going to turn this into a bracelet, if I've got the correct amount of weave that I want, I can now add on my clasp. So I'm just going to close that that ring up. So like I say, if you wanted to carry on, you'd add your 2 small closed jump rings and then repeat the process. But I want to add a clasp to this now. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take another open jump ring and I'm going to place it through that single jump ring. Okay, just place it through the single jump ring, take in my clasp, I'm going to add that on and just close that ring up, and then at the beginning of the weave I'm just going to take off my little safety pin that I use. You can now either connect into that very first jump ring, just move those out of the way. You can either connect straight into that very first jump ring to make your bracelet, or if you wanted to extend it, you could add another jump ring onto there, so that you've then got a little bit more length and a little bit more room, and it's a single loose ring rather than a ring that's woven into the actual weave itself. And then all you need to do is fasten that up, and that is your beautiful weave, which is known as both your barrel weave and your double vision weave. This is it as a continuous bracelet, and like I showed you before, there is the units. Ooh, if we can get you to focus. The unit weaves as well. So I hope you've enjoyed watching this short tutorial on how to create this gorgeous chainmail weave, and like I say, give it a go. It's only taking 1 size of jump ring, you don't need 2 different sizes of jump rings. Have a go with what you've got in your stash. If you want some more jump rings, then I'll leave the link below in the description for the sizes that I've used, and links to my website where all my jump rings are made by myself. So I sell jump rings in copper based and sterling silver. So if you're looking for jump rings, have a look down in the description for all the details there, and also details of my chainmail starter kit, which is all your pliers and everything else that you're going to need to start this wonderful jewellery making medium of chainmail. So I hope you've enjoyed the tutorial. If you have, please consider subscribing to the channel if you're not already subscribed. Give this a little like, maybe a comment as well. Let me know how you get on with this weave, if you're going to have a go at it, if you've done it before, if you found this helpful or not. Any constructive criticism would be gratefully received. But thank you ever so much for watching, and until the next time, I will see you very soon.